Hi folks, this is your boy Mad Dog here with the Dude's Motor Vlogs. Today I'm going to be working on my 2003 Toyota Tundra. We're going to put front brakes on this thing. I got these power stop or drilled and slotted rotors for the front. And I got power stop extreme severe duty and towing front pads. You silicone grease for your brakes. Comes with the clips, and these are the pads here. They're not super thick. I used to work at Toyota for years, and Toyota pads are normally twice as thick as that. But these have shims. I think it looks like that's a fairly soft material, so they probably bite pretty good. See, they're drilled and slotted, and they're 6 lug for the Toyota. See, this says, because I think with these they're directional, so that's why it says right there. You can probably read that. Wondering the part numbers? That's the part number right there. There, that's the part number. Now we're on the other side. All I gotta do is take the lug nuts off. And when you're doing this, if you leave the key in the ignition and you can turn the steering wheel, if you turn it towards you, it makes it a hell of a lot easier. Alright, as you can see, I'll try and get a close-up. See these clips right here? I'll show you how to get them out. Take a pair of needle nose like this. Try and film this the best I can with one man. Grab this and just pull. That's how they come off. Just watch when it goes flying, it doesn't hit you in the face. 'Cause that's what these love to do. I've taken 1,000 of these off in my lifetime, and every time I ever had one fly, it hits me in the face. And that's what it did that time when it went flying, it hit me in the face. So always wear safety glasses when you're working on this junk. That's the easy way to take them out. Someone put the other clip in backwards, that's why it's so hard to get out. You just gotta beat these pins out. These pins, you can put in from either side, it doesn't matter. Like someone put these in from the inside. Sometimes they're from here, sometimes they put, it doesn't matter which way you put it in. As long as it's in there and it has the clip on it, it can't fall out. It doesn't really matter. I think something will get that fucking rusty here in Tennessee. What will get you when I bought this, they put new brakes on it. Take your screwdriver, push it in here at the bottom, push in, and it will push the piston back on the caliper. When you're doing this, take a second screwdriver, put it in here. It'll hold it tight. Alright, that's that. You can take your pads out. See, the squeaker goes on the inside. The pads are glazed. See, it has two prongs on the sides you push together and at the top. The first one you can take a screwdriver and push the top and bottom one in, but then take your fingers and squeeze on the sides and that thing will just pop out. See, it just pops out. You gotta take this 12mm out for your brake line. It's a 12mm. Use a 1/4 inch, so 1/4 inch ratchet, so you don't have to worry about stripping anything. Alright, that's off. I take your 2 bolts out of the back of the caliper. Alright, it's a 17mm on the back of the caliper. And you want to take your bungee cord and wrap it around the top control arm. That way when you unbolt this, you can just hook it. Alright, if those bolts don't want to come out, put a long ratchet on here and just hit it. You can see I didn't put this on last time. I wouldn't put it that tight. No reason to ever put a brake caliper that tight, especially when it's fine thread. Alright, now you can just lift your caliper off. One other thing I was going to tell you, I did on the other side, the camera wasn't going. Bend the shield back some. It gives you more distance between your rotor and the dust shield. And the more room you have, obviously more air can get in there to cool your rotor off. So we'll bend this back some. See, you bend this more in, it will scoop air into your rotor, helps cool it down. Then when you're done beating on that, just make sure it's not hitting anything on the backside. You have an ABS sensor back here, and you want it where there's a little bit of a gap between your spindle and the dust shield and your ball joint. So it can move and it's not making noise. So you have it too, if you bend it back too far and you get it up against stuff, it'll squeak and rattle. If you got drilled and slotted rotors, they're directional. So this says driver's side. Put 2 lug nuts on here and tighten them down. Makes it a hell of a lot easier. And spin it to make sure it's not all wildly on there. Looks true to me. See, look at this gap now here. See how much air can get in there? Look at the top. Before, you could hardly slide a toothpick in between that and the rotor. That's why they warp so bad on these Tundras. People don't realize it. The dust shield is too close to the rotor. It overheats the rotors. And it's not the only reason, but that's one of the major reasons. PDI'd these trucks, the dealership, when they were new. After a while, Toyota realized there was a problem, so they'd have us bend these shields back, and that fixed most of the problem. You can actually take some of your grease, put it on the piston. Helps keep it quiet. It doesn't rattle around. See, I just put a little bit of grease on there. It doesn't take much. Now that we have that done. Alright, I already sprayed these rotors front and back before I put them on, but I touched them a little bit putting them on. I try not to, but sometimes you still do. So I just lightly spray them with brake clean. Helps get the grease and oil off then. If you wiggle these calipers around a little bit, it makes it easier to get the bolt to go in. Before we get too carried away, take your bungee cord off so it doesn't get caught in the wheel. Then make sure you put these bolts in the back of your caliper and tighten them up. They're both 17mm bolts. And that should be good. Alright, next step is to grease your pads. And remember, when you put the inside pad on, it has a squeaker on there. I bend it a little bit. Cause see, you want it where it just sticks just past the pad. See, like that? That way it'll let you know it'll squeak before your pad's completely wore out. But they have them where it's like in the middle of how thick the brake pad is itself. When you do that, I mean, it's gonna squeak. I mean, you're gonna have half a brake pad left. This silicone grease they give you, put that on the back of the pad on the shim here, because you're, you know, right here would be your one piston, here would be another piston, so you want a little bit there to keep it from squeaking when it moves around. This is one of those situations you just need it coated. It doesn't have to, you don't want it heavy. If you put it too heavy, it'll get on everything. And remember, put it like on the top of your pad, top and bottom of the pad. You can put a little bit. It doesn't just smear it. You do that, it keeps it from rattling when it bounces around in there. See how it's a little bit on both ends? And this has the squeaker on it, so this goes on the inside. This will be the outside pad, so you want to do the same thing. Alright, see? Got a coating of grease on there, got grease on both ends. Pad goes like this, with these two holes at the top. Then you gotta grease these pins, which I'll just use this Toyota grease I have. It's brake grease. Sometimes you gotta move the pads around a little bit to get the pin and the hole to line up. I'm going to use the Toyota pins. I like these better than those cheap aftermarket ones. That's the top one. These pins, you can put them on from the inside or from the outside. It doesn't really matter. I don't know. I always found it just easier to push them in this way. They're not, these pins aren't rusted, they're not all bent. I reused the factory Toyota ones. These Toyota ones are a lot better than the aftermarket ones. Gotta put the bolt back in this brake line. This is a lot easier if you use the 12mm socket. And click your ABS line on under it. Oh, I know what I forgot. I forgot to put this clip on. Anti-brake pad rattle. See when you put grease on stuff, how easy it comes out? You saw how much I fought that the first time. The clip goes like this. These wings, see, go out. You slide that on the pin, and this goes on top, and this goes in the hole. Then this goes like that. You push your pin back through. Goes in the hole, that goes in the hole in the pad. This goes on top, that goes on top, this goes under the pin. And this stays up in the center. Then you put your little clip back on. And that's all there is to it. Now when you start the vehicle, you see how there's extra room between the pad and the rotor? Pump the brakes, and when you get a good firm pedal, then put it in gear. Don't put it in gear, then start pumping the brakes and you have no brakes and you'll run into stuff. I've seen it before, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Important thing when you're doing brakes, especially on the front, you're supposed to get up to about 45 miles an hour and stop pretty aggressively down to like 10 miles an hour. But don't stop, just slow down to about 10 miles an hour. You probably do that 5-6 times, and you want to get what it does, it gets the brakes good and hot. It cleans off all the grease and oil and any contaminants. It gets them good and hot. It makes the pads seat, so they, it wears them in so they seat good. Because otherwise they don't stop very good if you don't do that. Well then, secondly, go about 35 miles an hour and slow down to about 5 miles an hour. Do that about 5 times. Then wait about 5 minutes and just drive around normally, to cool the brakes off. But you see, you run them through a heat cycle like that, it makes the pads seat. So that's what they want you to do. They don't want you coming to a complete dead stop though, because they don't want the pads when they're hot to sit on the rotor. They want you to keep rolling. I don't know if you can read that or not, but they're telling you that that's what these pads are for. Well, hopefully you like this video. This is the Dudes Motor Vlogs, and I'm your boy Mad Dog. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below what you'd like to see me work on next. Alright, see you, bye.